Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Stateside Market Report with Bryant and Tim. Mr. Naylor, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, Tim. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well. I'm excited to be doing this with you. We're on 3 weeks in a row now. I'm very proud of us. Hopefully, we'll keep this going. Hopefully, it's providing value for people that are listening and keeping you up to date with things that are going on in the Northern Virginia, Maryland, DC market. Because right now, I'm sick of saying things are crazy, but things are getting a little bit like they
Thanks.
were last year very, very
Yes.
quickly. So I think today we're going to get a little bit deeper in a very specific topic and not just throw too many numbers at you, but we're going to talk absorption rate and we're going to get a little bit nerdy and talk about what that means and why we see multiple offer situations again when the interest rates are twice what they were last year. And, it's still, some would argue we're in the spring season, some would argue it's still winter, but there are a lot of reasons pointing to the fact that there should be more availability of houses and offers should be more reasonable and we shouldn't be in a bidding war. And yet here we find ourselves again in a bidding war and offers over asking
hmm
and waiving contingencies. And that honestly is all because ignore everything else. That's all because of absorption rate. So
Yep.
can you give us a 10,000 foot view of what absorption
Yeah.
rate means and how it applies?
Yeah. So yeah, kind of going back to what you said is we have a lot of buyers that are worried. We have a lot of people standing on the sideline saying, "Hey, when are housing prices going to fall?" And our answer to that every time is they're not. It's not, it's not a market crash. It's not like what it was in 2008. It's just it's not the same. The economic factors just don't align, or there's more to it than just economic factors, right?
Sure.
There's the whole lending portion too, um but yeah, we have agents in our brokerage reaching out
Yep.
mass email distro wide asking if anybody has anything coming soon because everybody has 4 or 5 buyers lined up and nobody can find anything for them to buy. So the good properties are going quick, bidding wars, um, over asking price, and then the properties that aren't priced correctly are sitting for a long period of time. Anyways, that's when I brought up with Tim. I was like, we need to talk about the absorption rate
For sure.
because it'll give you an idea of how um, unhealthy this market really is and how it's just it's not a it's a big supply and demand game, right? So month supply of inventory, also called absorption
MSI.
rate, MSI.
We love acronyms, right?
Yep,
Foreign service folks.
MSI. Yeah, you gotta love that. And absorption rate. So it's it's really the number of houses on the market and the number that are under contract.
Right.
So it really quantifies the housing market, saying if the valve was shut off today, there's no more houses going on the market, how long will it take the current inventory in the market to run out? And a healthy market, Tim, what's a healthy market for you?
6 months.
Yeah, four to
Six
six
months
months.
inventory.
Anything, the 4 to 6 month mark is the buyers, or the buyers and sellers are kind of at equal terms, right? There's no
Right.
overbidding, there's no waiving all contingencies and all that kind of stuff. Anything over 6 months, you have a buyer's market, right? People in the
Right.
and sellers are going to be the one giving up all the concessions. Anything
Yep.
less than that, it's the seller's market. The current month of inventory in Northern Virginia right now, for all the counties and all the cities combined, is 0.96, which is not
It's not
even
good.
1 month.
It's not good. And I mean, I want to pause there, Brian, because that's significant. So I want to go back to something you said, like, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but this is not 2008. This is not a market crash. There might be a slight correction in prices, but that's because COVID corrected prices way higher than they should have been in the first place. So we're just coming back to a sense of normalcy. But the bottom line is it comes down to Econ 101. I mean, demand is far outweighing supply. We're having 12, 13, 14 offers on houses, waiving contingencies and, over asking and stuff like that and pre-inspections. And it's just because there's not enough houses. I read an article where the number of houses built from 2008 to 2018 was significantly lower than any decade that came after 1960. because of the
Hmm.
recession, because of 2008. So the bottom line is we just have not been building enough houses for the people that want them. And that can't change. It's not that it
Mm-mm.
won't, it can't. In this area, it can't change. There's just not enough space. And if it did, there would have to be some big government policies or, institutional lending that allowed that to happen. And with this, cost of materials and supply chain issues and logistics and all these things, like it's not likely to happen anytime soon.
Right.
So I want to get into a little more numbers, Bryant, but I also want to say, like, we are not doom and gloom prophets, like, oh, it's crazy out there, don't even bother, it's insane. We're all about being realistic and setting expectations. So when we have conversations with our clients, we preface it by saying, listen, this is what we're up against. We will get you a house. If you want a house, we will get you a house. We always do. But there are certain things we have to do, certain strategies we have to, deploy, and certain expectations we have to be a realistic bidder in this environment. So I think that's uber important. And we're never going to say, like, hey, we'll get you a house tomorrow in Falls Church, 3 bed, 2 bath at 600,000. Like, that doesn't exist.
Right.
So it's all about setting expectations and just being prepared and having these conversations and seeing what is really important to you in terms of what you're looking for in a house, and taking into account that other people are having the same conversation. And there are certain things you're going to have to give up, or more that you're going to have to offer to be in certain areas. So it's really, bringing it down from like the macro principles to how does this apply to me and my home search. It's just about setting expectations and moving forward over these hurdles. But you have to know what you're in for. This is not like, oh, I'll just wait and pick and choose this, or I'll wait till prices fall. Because honestly, unless we're just completely wrong, prices are not going to fall. I think they're going to go up. They're definitely not going down. So
Mm-mm.
it's not as if waiting for another month or two is going to be like, oh, there's going to be more inventory opening up and it's going to be cheaper, because that's just not the case.
Right.
And it's mainly because of this absorption rate. Like, interest rates and everything else aside, like we said, the bottom line principle is there's not enough houses. So, yeah,
Right. And there might be more houses that come on the market compared to today, but also there's more buyers.
right,
So the supply and demand just continue to stay the same.
right.
But so going to, the Northern Virginia area, 0.96, less than a month of inventory. Again, normal is 4 to 6. I ran some numbers for Maryland and DC, and not everywhere is the same. So in DC, there's 2.3 months of inventory, a little bit higher,
Better.
right? That takes
Half of
into
what it should be, but
consideration,
that's better.
yeah, that takes into consideration all the condos, all the the townhouse, all this detached single family. So we can always break that down even further. Maryland, on the other hand, Montgomery County is about the same as Northern Virginia, 0.89. Charles County 1.38, and PG County 1.056. So for the area, we're hovering about around a month, maybe a little over a month of inventory.
Yeah,
And so in terms of, again, everything aside, housing prices, the housing market is driven by multiple factors, economy and all that. But in terms of the months of supply and the absorption rate, the demand is just so high that, with this variable alone, we can say with confidence that housing prices are not going to fall because of the supply and demand model.
correct. 100% agree. And I think, if there's one thing to take out of this conversation about, the multiple bids and months of inventory and things like that, is that if you're waiting for prices to fall, it's not a wise strategy.
No.
So I'd encourage you to reach out to us, reach out to a knowledgeable realtor that knows the market, that knows the trends and how to get an offer accepted, and just have this conversation and be like, listen, I don't necessarily need to move for a year. Should I wait for 9 months? Probably not. Like, there are a lot of factors at play here, but I get anxious for people when they tell me that I'm just waiting for everything to cool off and prices to fall, and so I can have more choices and not have to get in a bidding war. I don't foresee that happening anytime soon. So I think it's just a matter of just being real with yourself and just being real with the realtor you're working with, and just, taking a look at the macro principles as well as just your local market, and realizing that the bottom line issue is that we don't have enough houses for people that want them in this country. Experts say from 3 to 7 million. I mean, it really depends on which
Mm-hmm.
article you read and like which data you look at,
But it's in
but
the millions.
it's in the millions, period. Like, it's in the millions. and there's not like a lot of people that are going out and building with all-time high building materials right now.
Mm-mm.
It's just not, it's not a great time to build. So anyways, again, I say I
Yeah.
don't want to be a doomsday prophet, and I really don't. Like, there's absolutely a house for people that want it, but it's not the easiest time to buy, and you really need to navigate your way through these strategies and really know the market and talk to listing agents and see what they're seeing. And we're seeing competitive bidding wars in Northern Virginia. I haven't seen as much on the Maryland side yet. DC, it's getting there, but I think it's really coming, from Virginia up to Maryland.
Yep.
But I mean, the numbers you just said are about the same. So like, it's coming. If it's not here yet, it's coming. And as the spring season moves forward, it's going to get more competitive and more harder to get, your first bid. Um, yeah. So
Yeah. And then
absorption rate.
sometimes it takes a couple swings to realize what the market is and what you need to do to get in a house. Sometimes you just got to go through those motions. And I think moving forward with talking about what drives the housing market, we'll get into other factors. Some more into the weeds a little bit more. But today we just really wanted to talk about the months of inventory, or the absorption rate, because that it's for our market in Northern Virginia, it's very important to understand that there's just not enough houses. Too many people are looking, and that's not going to cause housing prices to fall. So
Right.
the bidding's going to happen. Housing prices are going to stay stable or go up. And that is just the bottom line when it comes to the supply and demand side.
Yeah, I mean, this is a state of the market report. That is the state of the market, and it's just one of those things where, if you're not buying for whatever reason, perfectly understandable. But if people are waiting and hesitant to buy because they're waiting for the crash to come or prices to go down, I don't see any indications that that's going to be the
There's no
case.
indications of it. Mm-mm.
So honestly, it's better to get in sooner than later, especially with, as the spring and summer buying season come up. So give us a call, talk to us, like, don't wait, I guess, would be the word of advice based
Yep.
on this absorption rate information.
Absolutely.
And we'll get nerdier. We'll get nerdier next week and probably the week after on, interest rates. And, the Fed just raised the interest rate, the base points, another 25 basis points. That bumped mortgages up again this week, but a lot of people say it'll go down again next week. So it's a roller coaster, and we just try to stay with it. But again, that's more in the weeds. And the bottom line is, don't wait for prices to go down, because I don't see it happening.
Not around here. Nope.
Not around here. So I
Yeah.
hope this doesn't scare anybody. That is not our intention. We just want to be transparent and just have these conversations. Setting expectations is what we're all about. We don't want any negative surprises. So, hope for the best, expect the worst, and, we'll get you that house that you want. So until next time, we hope you learned something. And we'll talk to you next week on
All right.
Stateside Market Report with Bryant and Tim.
All right. Thanks, everybody.